If the ocean is the memory of our planet, then Grand Maja is its dream buried beneath the weight of eternal ice. Dr. Ray Hanlon, Institute of Marine Geobiology, Cape Town, 1997. In the spring of 2023, the European Antarctic mission Polaris 1-2 detected an anomaly beneath the thick ice of the Weddell Sea. LiDAR scanners revealed a massive outline, over 370 meters long, resting nearly 9,800 meters deep. The structure resembled the form of a colossal vertebrate, a broad frontal mass tapering into a serpentine tail with symmetrical arcs along the body. It was officially labeled Maja 9X, from the Old Norse Maja, meaning greatness. But this name had already appeared elsewhere in a forgotten whaling journal from 1854. Captain Gunnar Tvende of the Norwegian vessel Skjold recorded, "When the ice cracked beneath us, I saw a shadow, not fish, not whale. A body without end, a mouth without eyes. The water turned warm, as if the seabed was breathing." Tvende was later declared insane. His words, dismissed as madness, would echo across a century of oceanographic research. In 1974, the Soviet Antarctic station Nadezhda 6 registered a deep acoustic impulse, 14.7 hertzes, lasting 21 seconds. Dr. Elena Kravtsova, a senior acoustician, noted, "Each cycle consists of 3 breathing phases. It is not the echo of an iceberg, nor tectonic noise. It's alive." Spectral analysis showed rhythmic biological symmetry. When compared with NOAA archives, the signal matched the infamous bloop, but with greater structural complexity. 18 years later, an identical sound was recorded near the Bermuda Triangle, 6,500 meters deep. The frequency match, 98.7%. Thus was born a hypothesis that an unknown organism later dubbed Grand Maja could migrate between oceans through thermocline corridors, invisible arteries linking the Southern Ocean to the Atlantic. Dr. Hanlon called it the planet's breath passing between its lungs. Between 1,870 and 2,000, more than 110 ships disappeared in regions consistent with Maja's projected movement path. Among them, the British steamer Arctic Swan 1901, the Soviet vessel Briz 1956, and Japan's research ship Koyo Maru II 1983. The Koyo Maru's last transmission read, "Light beneath us, moving against the current." 72 hours later, wreckage was found, the steel hull crushed inward as if by enormous internal pressure. Recovered from the debris was a logbook entry. 1543, a sound like breathing, hull vibrating, feels like something alive below. For centuries, myths have described the same phenomenon. Sumerian tablets speak of Ma'aha, the sleeper beneath the frozen sea, whose breath reshapes the world when it wakes. The Sami people tell of Mayiyakit, a creature that breathes under ice and drags the unwary into darkness. 18th century Caribbean sailors feared the blue whale with needle teeth, rising after storms. Different names, same behavior: shadow, warmth, light, and breath. In 1998, Professor Daniel Rowland of Cambridge proposed that Grand Maja could be an ancient form of cryogenic marine life, a living relic that enters suspended animation for millennia, fueled by the ocean's geothermal energy. If such a species existed, it might have witnessed the birth and death of continents. In 1961, the American submarine USS Proteus, during deep-sea trials near Bermuda, logged a sonar contact roughly 300 meters long. Captain's entry: mass greater than any known animal, no movement, only pulsing. The data was classified for 50 years. When released in 2011, a faint, rhythmic hum was heard, a deep, slow inhalation. Its frequency perfectly matched the Maja signal. In 2018, the Deep Echo project again captured that sound, now accompanied by magnetic fluctuations and a 0.2 degrees Celsius rise in water temperature at 10,200 meters. 3 minutes later, all equipment failed. The final words of the operator: "Movement under the ice, it's breathing." Initially dismissed as an ice shelf fracture, satellite Sentinel-4A later revealed a 400-meter thermal arc beneath the ice, perfectly curved, like a massive spine. By 2023, the Deep Silence program had begun a multinational effort to probe the Filchner ice shelf. Instruments recorded rhythmic low-frequency echoes from depths thought sterile. Dr. Marco Severino, chief oceanographer, later told journalists, "We found evidence of respiration. The pattern is vast, larger than any life form known to science." The official report omitted his statement, but a leaked draft ended with one chilling line: "The organism inhales every 47 minutes." In 2024, researchers from Chile and New Zealand compared a century of satellite thermal data and discovered repeating oval anomalies, cold and warm zones cycling in 30-year intervals, as if something enormous moved slowly beneath the Antarctic crust. Each cycle matched the rhythm of a breath. Now, Grand Maja is no longer myth. The name once whispered in sailors' tales has entered science. In early 2025, the multinational research project known as Deep Silence 2 launched the first autonomous under-ice probe beneath the Filchner ice shelf. The vehicle, codenamed Aurora 7, was engineered to navigate subglacial cavities and record direct footage of the anomaly that, for decades, had been dismissed as a sonar illusion. For the first 30 hours, everything proceeded as expected. The drone transmitted clean data: temperature gradients, salinity levels, magnetic field strength. The ocean floor appeared lifeless, blank, and perfectly still. Then, at a depth of 9,480 meters, the sensors began to distort. The magnetic field spiked, dropping and rising again in steady rhythm. The sonar displayed something vast, moving slowly beneath the ice, a depression in the sediment hundreds of meters long, perfectly smooth, bending around like the curve of an immense body. The technicians thought it was a fault in the software until the drone's onboard microphones began to pick up sound. A pulse. Low, deep, and deliberate. Each cycle lasting almost exactly 47 minutes. When Aurora drifted closer, the sound grew louder, its frequency modulating like breath. The water temperature rose by less than 1/4 of a degree, but in the Arctic, that fraction was enormous. It was as if the sea itself exhaled heat. The surface above remained frozen, yet subtle ripples shimmered along the ice as if something beneath it was stirring. "It feels less like motion, Doctor." Elisa Moreau wrote in her field notes, "and more like presence. The ocean beneath us isn't empty, it's asleep." At 10,120 meters, the sonar mapped what appeared to be a vertical ridge 80 meters tall, semicircular, dense, and impossibly smooth. It curved gently, too regular to be rock. Aurora rotated to face it, switching on its dual floodlights. The first light blinked, then died. The second dimmed until only a faint blue glow illuminated a shape that did not belong there. Something ribbed, undulating, and faintly luminous, like bioluminescent tissue encased in ice. The feed trembled once, then froze completely. For the next 12 minutes, the crew aboard the research vessel Helios tried to re-establish connection. The acoustic transponder still pinged, faintly echoing in time with the low-frequency pulse. At 10:31, the cameras returned for just 30 seconds. The footage was scrambled, drenched in static and distortion. Through the noise, a single form appeared, a massive arch curving across the seafloor, textured like bone or cartilage. The signal collapsed again, and with it, the last audible words from the communications deck. "It's moving. God, it's followed by static." 3 days later, the winch finally reeled the drone back to the surface. Aurora's hull was coated in frost, magnetized along its edges, and partially burned. Inside, the data core remained intact but unreadable. Every attempt to decrypt it failed. 32 hours of recorded footage produced nothing but white noise, bursts of static, and the same repeating hum at 14.7 Hz is the frequency of the original Grand Maja signal. The engineers enhanced fragments of the corrupted video, searching for any recognizable structure. But the more they processed the data, the more it decayed, as though the information itself resisted interpretation. Even stranger, the electromagnetic interference persisted long after recovery. The ship's compasses spun aimlessly, metal walls vibrated faintly at night, resonating with a pulse that no one could trace. Crew members reported a constant humming in their ears, synchronized with their heartbeat. Some described it as the sound of breathing through metal. The incident logs were marked as psychological stress due to prolonged exposure, but the noise was recorded on multiple independent instruments. When the final report was compiled, the official conclusion read, "Equipment malfunction due to electromagnetic disturbance." The Aurora 7 data was classified, sealed in the European Polar Authority archives. Unofficially, fragments of the corrupted files leaked online months later. What they showed was nothing. No light, no form, only the faint suggestion of rhythm visual data transcribed as sound. A pulse every 47 minutes. The same pattern identified half a century ago in the mysterious bloop recordings. Experts analyzing the material discovered that each burst of static carried structured data as if the distortion itself encoded something. But when played back, the frames collapsed, erasing their own digital signature. It was as though the ocean refused to be recorded, as if whatever lay beneath the Filchner ice shelf could exist only when unseen. Dr. Moreau's last written words, found in her notebook after the Helios returned to port, read, "The ocean is not a void. It remembers everything we drop into it, our probes, our sounds, our eyes. Perhaps it remembers us too. And maybe Grand Maja is not sleeping. Maybe it is listening." Officially, Deep Silence 2 was suspended indefinitely. The ice shelf closed again, hiding whatever stirred beneath. The world moved on, satisfied with the explanation of equipment failure. But the data remained an unplayable sequence of light and shadow, humming faintly like breath in a dark room. The ocean never hides what it swallows. It only waits for us to stop pretending we're not listening. Dr. Elisa Moreau, Final Field Note, 2025. By the time the Deep Silence 2 incident was sealed from public record, whispers about what had really been found beneath the Filchner shelf had already spread through scientific circles. Most dismissed it as rumor, a misinterpretation of sonar feedback, or the echo of collapsing ice. But some researchers, tracing the historical footprint of similar events, began to notice something far more unsettling: the shape of a pattern extending through centuries of human record. The earliest references dated back to prehistoric art. In 2025, a joint Franco-Chilean archaeological team discovered a series of petroglyphs on Deception Island, carved into basalt cliffs thousands of years old. They showed primitive figures standing before what appeared to be a massive curved shape beneath wavy lines, unmistakably the sea. The creature depicted had a ridged back and a mouth without eyes, its scale dwarfing the figures surrounding it. The accompanying glyphs, translated from an early Proto-Ainu dialect, read simply, "He who breathes under the White Sea." Similar carvings were later found in Greenland, Norway, and even the Atacama Desert locations, now separated by oceans but once connected through migratory peoples following ancient currents. Each showed the same geometry: the arc of a body, the suggestion of ribs, and beneath them, small marks representing ships or men. In the archives of the British Museum, a long-forgotten 16th century whaling log was unearthed. It belonged to Captain Edric Horn, who recorded an encounter in the Arctic Circle in 1559. His words, written in fading ink, carried the same rhythm as the modern sonar reports. "We felt it before we heard it. The ice beneath did tremble, as if lungs lay beneath. The sea exhaled, and we smelled warmth." 4 crewmen were lost when the ice cracked open. The survivors swore they had seen a shape the size of a cathedral beneath them, its motion slow but deliberate, the water glowing faintly around its spine. The account was archived under Superstitions of Northern Voyages. Yet the latitude he recorded matched the coordinates of later Soviet and NOAA anomalies. By 2026, several independent researchers began assembling these fragments, ancient carvings, medieval testimonies, and acoustic data into what they called the breathing map. It charted overlapping regions across the globe where similar pulses had been recorded over the past 2 centuries: the Arctic Shelf, the Weddell Sea, the Greenland Basin, and the Bermuda Abyssal Plain. The intervals between these signals suggested an immense migration cycle, perhaps every 30 years. The scientists who supported the theory were quickly marginalized. Funding disappeared, papers were rejected, and conferences quietly declined to list their abstracts. But one of them, Dr. Samuel Raines, a marine biologist turned historian, continued his investigation privately. He argued that Grand Maja was not a singular organism, but a surviving remnant of a species older than ice, capable of hibernating beneath pressure and temperature gradients that would crush any modern creature. In a lecture recorded at the University of Oslo, Raines stated, "If Grand Maja breathes every 47 minutes, it is not respiration, it is adjustment. The ocean moves around it, the ice shelf becomes its lung." A month later, his research vessel, the Astra Polaris, vanished during a storm north of Jan Mayen. The last message transmitted from his team's underwater array consisted of 3 seconds of audio, a single drawn-out tone at 14.7 Hz, followed by silence. The recordings were recovered from the seabed 2 years later, perfectly preserved and analyzed by the Norwegian Polar Institute. The waveform showed a faint harmonic structure, not random, not noise, but a rhythm too precise to be natural. It mirrored human breathing patterns, scaled thousands of times slower. Some analysts noted something else, an intermittent secondary signal woven through the main pulse, like a whisper layered beneath a heartbeat. When filtered, it produced a pattern that, when mapped visually, resembled a spiral, a fingerprint of sound. One researcher described it as an acoustic form of communication. Another called it an invitation. In the same year, 2 Chilean fishermen operating near the Larsen ice shelf reported seeing light beneath the frozen surface at night, a slow ripple of blue that expanded and contracted in time with the sound of distant rumbling. Their vessel's compass failed, their watches stopped, and the air temperature rose by 3 degrees in under a minute. The official Coast Guard report listed it as electrical disturbance caused by geomagnetic fluctuation. But locals began calling the place El Respiro, the breath. As evidence accumulated, a quiet division formed among scientists. Some argued for a purely geophysical explanation: methane bursts, tectonic oscillations, ice collapses. Others began to entertain the possibility that life fast, slow, and ancient could exist where life should not. Then came the satellite images. In late 2026, thermal scans from the Sentinel-7 array showed a sudden, faint pattern forming beneath the Weddell ice field. A series of oval heat signatures, perfectly symmetrical, arranged in a line stretching nearly half a kilometer. Each segment appeared and vanished within minutes, like the rising of something enormous just below the surface. When NASA analysts attempted to enhance the data, the files became corrupted. The temperature logs inverted, timestamps disappeared, and digital checksum values reset to 0. The servers handling the data briefly overloaded, emitting a steady hum at 14.7 Hz, the same frequency again, now appearing inside their own hardware. By then, no one doubted that something was real, not even those ordered to deny it. Yet the footage that could have confirmed it, the sonar pings that could have defined its shape, and the drone videos that might have shown its eye all shared the same fate: unreadable data, erased frames, perfect silence. In the end, there was only the rhythm, the same measured breathing that had haunted ships, cameras, and men for centuries. The world did not forget the silence left by Aurora 7. It became a cautionary tale told in universities, whispered in research forums, and referenced in countless speculative documentaries. Yet beneath the skepticism, something deeper stirred curiosity. The possibility that beneath the Antarctic crust, in the darkness older than civilization, something vast and alive might still exist, was too compelling to dismiss. By 2027, advances in oceanic imaging and AI-based sonar reconstruction reopened the conversation. The new generation of deep ocean sensors, equipped with quantum interference stabilization and optical neutrino lenses, could scan through hundreds of meters of ice with unprecedented clarity. Governments denied that these technologies were being used for biological research, yet leaks from independent sources suggested otherwise. A pattern had been detected, faint, rhythmic, and familiar. The Polar Institute of France, working jointly with NOAA and the Japanese Oceanic Agency, launched Project Borealis, a mission designed to verify or permanently dismiss the Grand Maja hypothesis. Unlike previous expeditions, Borealis operated entirely autonomously. Hundreds of miniature drones, no larger than eels, were released into the subglacial channels of the Weddell Sea, programmed to operate for years at a time. Each unit carried onboard learning software, capable of adapting to electromagnetic interference, the very phenomenon that had destroyed earlier missions. For the first 2 years, nothing. The drones returned with data showing vast caverns under the ice, silent and empty. Then, in mid-2029, one of them, designated B-13, transmitted a compressed signal containing what analysts later described as anomalous bioacoustic complexity. The pulse matched the frequency of 14.7 Hz again. But this time, there were overtones, harmonics layered above the bass tone, structured like the beginnings of language. The discovery divided the scientific community once again. Some argued that it was interference from the drone's damaged sensors. Others insisted that the layered rhythm could represent a form of echolocation or even primitive communication. The data was inconclusive, but the implications were too large to ignore. In 2030, an emergency summit was held in Geneva under the title Subglacial Phenomena and Anomalous Bioacoustics. For the first time, all nations conducting Antarctic operations agreed to share acoustic data. A total of 47 incidents were cataloged, spanning 70 years and 5 continents, all featuring the same rhythmic frequency, each separated by nearly identical intervals. The phenomenon had no geological explanation, yet without visual confirmation, Grand Maja remained a name, not a specimen. As technology advanced, so did skepticism. Artificial intelligence systems trained to reconstruct acoustic environments from partial data produced simulations of an enormous, semi-organic structure resting along the Antarctic seabed, but even these were dismissed as imaginative renderings of noise. Every attempt to verify the existence of a living organism failed under peer review. What little evidence existed could always be explained as coincidence, mechanical malfunction, or psychological projection. Still, the search continued. With each expedition, researchers ventured deeper beneath the shifting ice. Submarine probes now operated for months without human supervision, crawling through frozen tunnels once thought inaccessible. They sent back sound, vibration, heat, but never sight. Never the image that would end the debate. Meanwhile, stories persisted. In 2031, crew members of a Chilean cargo vessel claimed to have seen blue light moving beneath the ice shelf after midnight, describing it as a slow pulse. The sea glowing from within. Their report was dismissed by the Antarctic Maritime Authority. In 2032, a British satellite recorded a distortion field over the same region where Helios had vanished 7 years prior. The data was corrupted. The pattern continued. Discovery followed by erasure, evidence followed by silence. By 2035, Grand Maja had become both myth and method. It existed as an algorithm, a line of code in climate simulations, a frequency in marine monitoring systems. Students studied it as a cultural phenomenon, a story born from noise and amplified by the human need for awe. Documentaries turned it into symbol, poets into metaphor. Scientists kept their distance, but kept listening. No one could prove Grand Maja existed. No one could prove it didn't. Today, with quantum sonar arrays capable of mapping the ocean floor to the centimeter, researchers at the European Cryospheric Observatory continue to hear the pulse. They do not call it breath anymore, they call it oscillation drift, a subtle shift in pressure recurring every 47 minutes, too regular for randomness, too faint for life. In the sterile language of scientific papers, the mystery has been sanitized. Periodic low-frequency resonance observed in the Weddell Basin correlation with tectonic or glacial processes undetermined. But between the lines, in the unspoken tension of every report, there lingers a quiet awareness, the recognition that some questions are not meant to end, only to deepen. Perhaps, centuries from now, the ice will melt entirely, and whatever lies beneath will finally surface not as a monster, but as a memory of what the Earth once hid from itself. Perhaps we will learn that Grand Maja was never a creature, but the sea's own slow heartbeat. Or perhaps, when the last layer of ice fractures, we will realize it was real all along, watching, waiting, listening. Until then, the pulse remains. Every 47 minutes, the instruments of half the planet tremble in unison, recording a sound that no one can explain. It is quiet now, distant, easy to ignore, but it is still there, patient, steady, eternal. We upload new videos every single day, so make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss what's next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, it really helps the channel grow. Tell us in the comments what you'd like to see next, your ideas might be in our next upload. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of our community. Stay tuned, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.